All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Shift. This is episode 5. Hope everyone is doing fine. And I just want to recap what we've done so far. So, in starting this series, you would have introduced the shift, what's going on in the environment right now that we actually notice this shift in dependency on Wi-Fi, especially in the residence. We experienced the shift. We actually had a customer on one of our sessions telling us how they transform their environment and so on using Wi-Fi technology. In episode 3, we actually learned to understand Wi-Fi, how we measure Wi-Fi, etc. In episode 4, which was last week, we looked at understanding how to do an actual high-level Wi-Fi survey in your residence. So we diagrammed the residence, we introduced the Wi-Fi tools. Last session, we used the Wi-Fi analyzer and we introduced Insider as well. And we also completed that session by building an existing coverage map of the residence, an existing coverage map. So we left that last session where you guys would have gone through an actual residence and you would have been able to walk through that residence with the analytical tools and take the DBM readings per room and actually map it out on an actual diagram. At least I'm hoping that's what you guys did, because that's what we actually did to walk, we walked you guys through that. So I hope some of you took the challenge. In this session, well, the learning objective for this session is pretty straightforward. We want to be able to take that survey we did last week and we want to allow you to be able to interpret it. All right, so we are saying that the homeowner should be able to read and understand the results, not just look at the survey, but understand the results of the survey. All right, so that's the goal of this session. From an agenda perspective, we're going to document the existing Wi-Fi issues within the residence. It's important to understand what are the issues, what issues you're dealing with. We're going to look at the survey that was done, and we're going to interpret the survey results in the context of the issues. Right? We're also going to contextualize the survey results and identifying if any potential issues can occur. Right? We also look at proposed coverage areas. In other words, you're looking at what you've done, guys, in terms of what is in your existing residence, but you're looking forward. All right? And in looking forward, we want to understand what areas do we want to ensure are covered within my residence moving forward. And we also want to identify expectations and the applications as well as the devices to be used, because that's very important. All right, so let's get to it, guys. All right, so let's document the existing issues within your residence. And again, these are examples allowing you to actually be able to, relate to it and put yourself in that position so you can go through this actual process. All right, let's go. So laptop often buffers while watching Netflix while in the outdoor seating area. So if you guys remember, I'll just jump forward to this slide for a little bit. If you guys remember, there was an outdoor seating area around the back and side of the house. There was also a porch and a garage. So we have different areas of the house. So these actual issues are in the context of the map that we shared last week. Second issue, I use my garage from time to time as a home office, and I have problems with the quality on my video calls too often. So this person has a lot of video calls, but they have problems on the video calls, whether it's sticking, whether there's a lack of quality, regardless. The device is connected wirelessly and they have problems on the video call. And this is from the context of the garage. And I can browse web pages from anywhere inside the outside of my house, but I have issues when streaming heavy YouTube videos if I'm sitting outside at times. So they can browse outside, but when they're streaming heavy YouTube videos, and heavy in terms of different quality YouTube videos, I know we all understand that we can run YouTube videos at different qualities, 720p, 1080p, 4K, etc. So this person is having issues when running YouTube videos that are heavy, but they can browse. So I'm throwing some real life problems at you guys, right? And we want to be able to understand, based on what we've learned so far, what can actually be some of the causes of these issues. All right, so in terms of reviewing the survey results, so very quickly, all the DBM readings within the house look fine. And I say well, look fine because they range from -42 up to -50 or 58 in that vicinity. It's as you get to the outskirts of the residence, you start to see values climbing from -60 up to -65. All right, so it's clear that the signal gets lower as you go outside of the walls of the house. That's understandable because, and let me get my pointer, because the wireless router is more to the front of the house, all right, serving these guys at the back seating area on this side. So we can understand the difference in signal strength because as we understood some sessions before, a lot of things cause attenuation or signal degradation, walls, doors, glass, etc. All right, so this is again just to create the context. Again, creating context, but looking at a reference. So we've seen in some sessions before a recommendation from, in this case, MetaGeek, with respect to what are, acceptable levels of signal strength and what these levels of signal strength can provide. So we're showing the signal strength and relating it to performance. So -30, -67, they spoke about -67 being very good, right? Minimal signal strength for applications that require very reliable, timely delivery of data packets. So for VoIP, streaming, video, etc. It's very good. As you go into -70 and so on, you may start to get degradation from heavier applications like voice and video and so on, but you may be able to browse. And remember, guys, this is subjective. This is also based on the device that you're using. So -67 may be able to work for somebody using a particular application that has video, but it may not work for another application using video based on how that application may compress or not compress the actual data. So the goal here, guys, is not to make you engineers, but to have you understand the variables that contribute. So if we relate some of the stuff on this chart to the readings that we got within the actual house, we could start to understand or interpret what's taking place. So from an interpretation perspective, let's talk. So we can make statements like this. Based on the readings from my device, I can say that the interior of the house is sufficiently covered using the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum. Can we say that? Right? If we look, and I'm going back because I want the diagram big in front of me. If we look at the values within the house, as we said, -42 up to -58, that's acceptable in terms of signal strength for almost any application. Right? So we agree with that statement. Based on the readings, the external areas of the house may experience coverage performance issues if using intense applications, for example, VoIP and video, but you should still be able to browse. Again, if we look at the values outside the house from -60 and in some cases to the back -65. So that's understandable. Again, we're looking at a value here of -67 as very good. So the goal here, guys, is for you to relate. We want you to be able to see the values and have an idea of, will this impact performance? Can it impact performance? You know what? That may be the reason why I'm getting these issues. Bearing in mind, guys, as we spoke about last week, there are a lot of other factors like interference, channels, co-channel interference, adjacent channel interference, and all sorts of other stuff that can create issues where you experience bad performance. But we are speaking about signal strength, things that you would understand quickly within this series. So I think by now all of you should be able to interpret the values that we found in the survey that we did last week, which is what we just did essentially. Putting this into context now. So from a contextual perspective, right? We started off this session by listing the issues that you experience within your residence. Why is that important? It's important because at the end of the day, you want to be able to fix those issues. Remember, as human beings, guys, we normally see the things that give us problems first. All right, so we identified Netflix, we identified video call issues, and we identified watching heavy video on YouTube. So putting that into context, based on your understanding of signal strength now, especially what you would have learned from the last episode, I'm sure by now we can make the following statements. Let's go. 1. My Netflix issues. These can be created by the low signal strength received in the outdoor seating areas. Remember, we saw the outdoor seating area to the back of the house at negative 65 and the seating area to the outside of the house at negative 60. Remember when we spoke about signal strength and devices reading signal strength and so on? Remember, we always said that those readings were in the perspective, from the perspective of the receiving device, which means you may have gotten negative 65 on your device, but on my device, I may get negative 69. But for all intents and purposes, guys, what we are saying and what you should actually be able to infer by now is that that value can create degradation according to what you're looking at. It may be fine for web browsing, but it may not be fine for streaming video. Remember, video is heavier than just browsing a normal web page, right? So again, video call issues. When I'm working from the enclosed garage, those issues can be caused by, again, the low signal strength received from the existing access point. Again, this is outside the boundaries of the house. Similar to the Netflix issues, you're actually on a video call, similar scenario. Again, watching heavy videos, what we identified in terms of issues, you can browse your web pages around the house, fine, but heavy YouTube videos like 4K, 1080p and so on, you have issues. Again, this can also be as a result of the low signal strength from the access point. Where is this access point, guys? I'm going right back because I want to keep you in the game all the time. Let me grab my pen. I am going right back. The wireless router is here. Let me get a marker. Right. The wireless router is here. The issues that you are receiving, that you documented, in terms of YouTube and so on, and video calls, etc., are here. So understand that practically, guys, these are things that you can be experiencing as we speak. The idea behind these videos is to empower you to be able to interpret and understand these things, right? So you can make informed decisions. So what would you do in a case like this? This access point in your living room here, all right? Serving the rest of the house properly because you don't have those issues, but you have issues on the outskirts. What will you do, guys? What will you do in terms of trying to fix that problem now that you're better informed? What would you do? Let's take it forward. All right. When you're looking at sorting issues out within your residence, it's also important to identify the areas that you want covered. Remember, though we're also talking about issues that you're experiencing right now, right? We're also trying to ensure that you understand how to read Wi-Fi signals and measure them. We're also trying to ensure that you understand how to interpret Wi-Fi surveys and so on. We also want you to be able to identify the areas that you want covered in your residence moving forward. All right. So this actually prompts you to go through the areas and identify where you want coverage. What we are saying is that, like every other household owner, you want coverage straight through, right? Straight around the compound. That's fair. So you understand what you need. All right. So any technology, any Wi-Fi technology that has to replace what you have in your house right now, or any technology that you have to bring in your house right now, has to cover all the areas in your house. So you've just set the expectation. You also have an expectation to set in terms of the devices. What devices are you going to use? All right. What do you want to do, etc. So I expect coverage of all areas of my house and external compound, which we identified in the slide before. I would like to be able to use my mobile, right, and other Wi-Fi devices. I have 3 cell phones, 3 laptops, 1 tablet, and a smart TV. All of these devices are Wi-Fi capable. You want to be able to use all of them. Why is that important? Right? There's a simple answer and there's a complicated answer. The simple answer is important because you, as the customer, or you as the residential owner, you want to be able to use it. All right? The complicated answer speaks to configurations like polarization, diversity, and so on. It makes a difference if you have a device that's sitting flat using Wi-Fi, as opposed to a device that you use and change orientation using Wi-Fi. That's for another video, guys, but it makes a difference. All right. To the best of my knowledge, the applications I would like to use are as follows: Netflix, web browsing, YouTube videos, WebEx, Microsoft Teams, and other remote collaboration apps. I generally want to be able to use my Wi-Fi for anything that I may need to. So you've identified that you want to use a suite of applications, a lot of them video related, and then you've said, you know what, it doesn't matter. I want to be able to satisfy all the requirements with respect to, if I want to browse web pages, I want to browse web pages. If I want to browse video, I want to browse video from all through my compound. All right. So what do we need to do? You've set the expectations for devices. You've set the expectations for applications. We've understood the issues that you have in the house right now. From last session, we did the survey. We were able to read and interpret the survey and actually associate some of the issues that are being experienced with the results of the survey. So we're better informed how to move that forward, guys. We have to build a coverage map, taking into consideration how we are fixing the issues. All right? And we are going to do that. Or we're going to do that in episode 6. I hope you guys enjoyed Shift. All right, guys, thank you very much for your time. It was a compact session, right? Because we're trying to ensure that everybody has time to learn, and we're breaking it down so we don't, bombard you with too much. If you're having any issues on your residential Wi-Fi, or you need help just understanding, or you want to address something, guys, or you want to bounce ideas off of us, anything you want to do, reach out to us. Right, we can be reached at our office numbers 223-1576. If you're calling from outside Trinidad and Tobago, our country code is 868, or we can be emailed at sales@bluenetworks-tt.com. Thank you for making the shift, guys. Have a wonderful day.